Welcome back to Double Overtime. Yes, we are back again. I swear we keep promising that we're going to go away, but now we're back. I'm Jenna. He's Sascha. Sascha, I think at the end of the last show, we were like, oh yeah, we're going to take time until, maybe the end of the year when there's more news. And then news happened over nationals, and then nationals happened. And some of our picks were correct, and some of them were not. More of your picks were correct than mine. We'll get to that. Sascha, we're back. Season 1.75? 1
something
and 2/3?
Like 0.75, 0.67, something like that. I guess it depends on if we get more news.
It feels like
more big news.
More news in one way or another. There's a new team that we have to talk about now. There's a fancy mixed showcase game happening in a week and a half. Some Western Ultimate League players and some Premier Ultimate League players did cool things at Nationals. I was at Nationals. You were watching Nationals. Sascha, how's it been the last couple of weeks? How are things?
Things are good. I'm just kind of chilling, taking care of the family, watching some frisbee, coaching some frisbee. That's about it.
Yeah. A chill fall, it sounds like, for you. We appreciate that.
Well, what about you? Don't you have a disc golf thing coming up?
I have a disc golf thing coming up this weekend because even after doing reporting at Nationals with Ultiworld, I can't stop the disc sport things going. I'll be playing in the NorCal Team Invite this weekend with Team San Francisco Disc Golf Club. We won the NorCal Team Invite last year, so we're back to defend the title. And I get to play with one Ella Hansen because she and I are the two women's returners for Team SF. So it should be fun this weekend. Very, very excited to get another chance to play disc golf with Ella out in lovely Stockton, California, which was supposed to have nice weather, and now it might rain. So rainy disc golf in California should be fun. Welcome to winter, I guess.
Nice. You might get to see her new fancy van.
I hope so. We'll see. Although I think she's flying down, flying in. So probably won't get to see the new van quite yet, but it looks great. So congrats, Ella, on your new disc golf van. Excited to see you back out on tour next year. But we're here to talk about Ultimate. not quite disc golf, although there's always going to be a little bit of overlap with the two of us. Should we get into the news? The news.
The news. New team in the Western Ultimate League. We have the Colorado Alpenglow. Did I say that right? Alpenglow?
I think you did. Alpenglow, for those of you who haven't already been looking it up after the announcement, last week already? It feels like.
Yeah,
recently.
I believe so.
Alpenglow is basically the glow that like the tops of mountains will get when the sun is rising or setting, usually. And it's a very pretty effect that you get, especially in the tall peaks and mountains of the Western United States. Feels very appropriate for the new Colorado team.
Yeah, it normally happens when there's like snow on the mountains, and so it is able to reflect that like those pink and orange hues from the sun, and so yeah, it looks pretty cool. What are your thoughts on the name itself?
I like the name, but I also know what Alpenglow is, so I'm more familiar with it. I think there's always debates about what makes a good team name. I like the approach to at least an extent of some of the Western Ultimate League teams in particular. This is somewhat true also with some of the PUL teams of not doing your standard like lion, tiger, bear names. I feel like that's the case with a lot of Ultimate names. Same with a lot of the AUDL teams, a little bit different. Although some people have noted that this is the second rare phenomenon team name in the Western Ultimate League, along with Super Bloom of San Diego. So I personally like it. I think the color scheme looks cool. The like kind of pastel-y pinks and like green blue colors that they were putting out in some of the graphics. So I think it'll be cool. I think it's got really good like jersey potential. Name wise, I don't know. Some people are like, oh, it should be a name that's like frightening. So let's do like wind chill or gridlock. Versus something fun and nice like Alpenglow. So I'm a little mixed on it. But I like the name overall. What are your thoughts?
Personally, the name itself, I'm not super fond of. I do enjoy that it is something that's like, with the mountains and everything for that area. It just feels weird. Alpenglow just, I don't know. Alpenglow just feels weird. But I do love the colors. Like you were saying, I cannot wait for these jerseys. They're going to look really cool, in my opinion.
Yeah, Alpenglow doesn't make for a very easy cheer.
Yeah, I think they're going to say go glow or glow team.
Grow glow.
Glow team.
Glow. Yeah,
Alps.
I feel like Alpen's gonna get lost a little bit in like cheers and things.
Probably.
But you gotta appreciate the like hyper locality of some of the names, and it's kind of thematic.
For sure.
But also, Western Ultimate League is certainly not themed anyway. Not that like leagues have to. I mean, like, just look at the like NBA with Heat and Thunder and Lakers and Pistons. Just to pick a league where I know a bunch of the team names off the top of my head. I think it's cool. It's fun to have it, and it's going to be really interesting because one thing that was a draw, a definite plus for both Utah Wild and Arizona Sidewinders this season was being able to pull from some of that Colorado talent base that does exist not only on spoilers, not spoilers, national title winning Denver Molly Brown, but also out of Fort Collins with Shame among other teams, and Small Batch also out of Colorado. So some talent there pulled to Utah, pulled to Arizona when there was no Colorado team. Now there's a Colorado team. It's going to be interesting to see how the rosters of, say, Utah and Arizona are affected and where Colorado is pulling its players. How many of those title-winning Molly Brown players are we going to see on Alpenglow, if any? So there's been heated discussion, shall we say, within the Colorado Ultimate community about whether there should or shouldn't be a pro team. Now there is. Molly Brown players of varying number have been in opposition. Will some folks join? Will some folks not? They're going to be like a boycott protest thing? Who knows? Like, it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out, given the relative diversity of the Colorado Ultimate scene being in at least a couple of different places.
Yeah, there's a lot of Colorado like talent, kind of spread across a few, like you were saying, Utah and Arizona. Notably, like the founders, like the people that are like in charge of the team, like getting this off the ground. 3 of the 4 of them were on the Arizona Sidewinders this year, and then there are 11. I was told about 11 Colorado players, like players from Colorado, on the Arizona Sidewinders team. That's a large portion of the team.
Yeah.
That could potentially just not be there anymore. And because they'll have a team closer to home.
Yeah. It'll be I like wonder, like, is for Arizona, you're in kind of an awkward spot because San Diego and LA have teams. Las Vegas has a few players, but there's never really been a particularly thriving club scene out of Vegas. New Mexico, there's some folks maybe out of like Albuquerque or Santa Fe, but again, not a ton. And then there's Colorado has a team now, and Utah has a team. And any folks like say out of Reno, if we're talking non-California places, Reno's much closer to San Francisco than it is to Arizona, I'll tell you that much. So it will be interesting to see. I feel like I have faith in the Arizona system, program. Lawless still, didn't make nationals this year because Southwest only had one bid in mixed. But I still think there's potential there for the Sidewinders to rebound. It just may be a somewhat weaker team than we saw. And this is a team in Arizona that snuck in to the Final Four last year after both
just barely.
San Francisco and LA gave up the chance. Just barely. With a weaker roster, are they going to be a weaker team? Maybe. And I say they're going to be a weaker roster. We don't know that. But if you're losing 11 players, it's a pretty good chunk that you have to replace with players who may be up to the same caliber, but maybe not. Or at least haven't been in those types of like bigger game pro league settings before.
Yeah, and like among those players that Arizona could potentially be losing, that one of the big potentials is Megan Maxfield. Megan's a incredible defender for any team that she plays on. Does she continue to go to Arizona? Does she return to her home state of Utah, or does she go to play in Colorado with her because she was playing on Shame this year, so with her teammates from Shame. So who knows? And as well, Aubrey Dietrich was a huge contributor for this Arizona team, and she is one of the people that is getting this Colorado team off the ground. So Arizona's losing her. And so, yeah, I mean, I think Arizona's got a lot of growing, I believe. And, hopefully we'll be able to put out a very strong team this year.
Yeah, and this is always the nature, especially with these leagues that are just expanding and expanding into places where you might expect players to be, but there hadn't been a team before. There's naturally going to be some talent loss unless the place in question or the places in question before, say Utah and Arizona, had really strong scenes. There's going to be some player loss. And so, again, we might expect the Sidewinders to take a step back, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to be competitive, or that doesn't mean that they won't be able to rebuild in future years. It just may be that they go through a rebuilding year, and the Arizona ultimate scene has to continue to develop and grow and find ways to continue to build up the Sidewinders program without as much of a, I don't want to say reliance, but without players coming in from out of state, because West Ultimate League is like, cool, yeah, we're happy to place a team in Colorado if we can, because we know that there's a really good ultimate scene in the Boulder, Denver area and Fort Collins as well with Shame and other teams, as mentioned.
Yeah, and this, excuse me, this possibly affects Utah a little bit too. Utah has a few Colorado like players from Colorado. Carolyn Vlack. I apologize, Carolyn. If, and Lucio Way, who designs a lot of the Ulti-World stuff. By the way, for everyone who didn't know,
great. Lucia's great.
Lucia's great. And Melinda Alvey as well. Jen Cogburn lives in Denver, although she is playing for Utah Wild this year. As far as I know, she is playing for Utah Wild this year. But in future years, could she stay home in Colorado?
Maybe.
Who knows?
I mean, and she also played with Mixtape in the club division, but that's a long-term team for her.
Yes,
over on the club side of things. Yeah, something interesting. I mean, again, I think it's worth thinking about. It feels like in the very first year, the West Ultimate League felt pretty polished, but it was their first year after they had tried to start in 2020. And that didn't happen because COVID happened. And so there's going to be some growing pains, and some teams are going to gain players and lose players, and new teams are going to be created. And hopefully this doesn't happen, but we've seen it in other leagues. Teams fold or franchises move or what have you. So I'm sure this will not be remotely the last bit of news we have when it comes to new teams, new areas, players moving around in the Western Ultimate League. It'll be interesting to see, especially as we get more towards roster announcements. I know teams are starting to have tryouts now. Like my hometown, San Francisco Falcons, tryouts are coming up in the next few weeks. We'll start to get a much better sense of where some of these teams are headed into the 2023 season. In other news from the Western Ultimate League, they have announced that they are doing a showcase game partnership with the AUDL at the AUDL's All-Star Game that's coming up on November 12th up in Portland. It's going to be an 8v8 showcase with players from Portland Nitro and Seattle Cascades of the AUDL, and Oregon Onyx and Seattle Tempest out of the Western Ultimate League. 8v8, a format we haven't really seen before. We're not really sure what the rule set will be exactly 10 days out as we're recording this on November 2nd. Sascha, what are your thoughts looking ahead to the showcase? I think it's very exciting. This is I don't want to say first real example of mixed pro, because I know there were times when locally the Flamethrowers had a mixed team at one point, but this feels more possible as a way forward, even if the two leagues, the AUDL and the Western Ultimate League, don't end up, say, merging to create a fully mixed league. It's still exciting to see this possibility at the pro level.
Yeah, it is pretty fun. I know that the Seattle team at one point had the Cascades. They had, at the time, the women's team was called Cascades as well. So they had a open roster, a women's roster, and a mixed roster as well at one point, and they would play games. And so yeah, I think it'll be fun. It'll be interesting to see what kind of play will happen with 8v8. I'm assuming that we're gonna have an AUDL size field, so we're gonna have the 53-yard wide field instead of the 40-yard wide field.
That'd be my assumption if you're going to more players.
Yeah, and obviously keep the 80-yard length of the
and that's field shared between the two leagues. But rule set, I'm curious about stall count and is the double team rule. Yeah.
I think stall count should be 7. Or will we have refs or will we have observers?
We have refs or will we have observers? AUDL is trying out experimental rules as the All-Star Game, so I don't know if the experimental rules are going to be put into place. Because it's supposed to be a 5-second stall, if I remember correctly, for the experimental rules, but I would be surprised if it wasn't 7 for the showcase game. All of these things, there are different polling rules. I presume it's going to be stall 7, 8v8 on the AUDL field. I would guess no double teams, but I don't know that to be the case. But yeah, it would definitely be interesting. And I mean, 8v8, I feel like it's not really been done very much, if at all, before. And so it just, I'm a pretty, I would say avid, but pretty regular follower of the English Premier League, the men's soccer league out of the UK, out of England. And it's interesting with 11v11 soccer, which soccer is that you have different formations that you'll hear commentators for soccer read off of 4-4-2 or 3-4-3 or these types of things. And in Ultimate, we really we kind of have that. You call Vertsac a 2-5 or mixtape. in at least the games that I was watching often ran with Vegas at the point of like a 1-6 vertical stack, and you could call a horizontal stack a 3-4. But I feel like adding players to 8v8 opens up different possibilities because the default might be, if you play horizontal, then it's 4 back and 4 across. But is it something like a 3-3-2, 3 handlers, 3 mids, and 2 deeps? And when it's a mixed play, who do you put in those different positions? I think it's going to be really interesting to see what, if any, differences we see, or if maybe the teams just play, vertical stack or split stack or something, and it becomes a little bit different in that way in terms of how you're setting up. But like, especially the number of handlers back is going to be intriguing, I think, to see what teams decide to do, what the showcase teams decide to do.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm assuming most of the players know each other from living in the same area that they are with everybody else on their team. But it's also going to be intense. We always have this Portland Seattle rivalry going on, and those are always really fun games to watch. Like Sockeye Rhino is a lot of fun. Riot Schwa is a lot of fun. Onyx and Tempest was a lot of fun. Yeah,
it's Washington, Oregon. Two of the biggest state schools going at it time and again in whatever sport you want to draw up. So yeah, and I think Onyx draws a little bit more from around the state, and maybe Nitro do too. They just keep the Portland moniker while Onyx have adopted the Oregon name. But yeah, I think there'll definitely be some continuity. But yeah, I'm just very curious because we haven't really seen mixed Sol 7 in a while. And it'll be interesting to see how, again, like the different play setup. And I mean, my brain is already going of like trying to draw up some of the different like diagrams and systems and set plays of like, okay, what if you do 2 men as your like deeps? Or what if you have all men in the backfield handling, and then you open up space for women to take advantage of the larger field? I think it could just be really interesting to see how those dynamics play out and what the coaches of each respective team, which who knows exactly who the coaches are, I don't think that's been announced yet, but decide to do in that very different setting than they're used to with their AUDL or WUL teams.
Yeah, I guess we'll see what happens,
We shall see. 10 days from now, tune in if you can, the 12th.
Yes, the 12th.
I mean, 10 days from the time we are recording this, it will be less by the time you hear this this episode. One last bit of news before we get to talking about nationals things, USAU nationals things. The Western Ultimate League is having an ongoing fundraising effort to help support the cost of their live streaming. Last year, all of the live streams were available either immediately in streaming form or in tape delay form for all of the games for all of the Western Ultimate League season. That costs money to pay the producers and pay for equipment and pay for commentators, etc., etc. So if you're interested in helping support the Western Ultimate League streams, they have a GoFundMe. You can check it out on any of their social media platforms. They have shared the link and information. So go support the live stream so that everyone can have access for free, and they're able to put on a great show for everyone without as much cost coming to the league. And it always feels like Ultimate is community fundraising, but in this case, you're paying for the product to be able to watch the game. People pay for ESPN, for all of the whatever streaming packages you have, Peacock, Paramount Plus, whatever. This is just the same way that the Western Ultimate League is trying to do it, to enable everyone to be able to watch the streams of all of their games in an accessible way, and you'll get to see a brand new team along with the other 7 from last season. So again, go check out the Western Ultimate League's socials, Instagram, Twitter, probably Facebook. Others, there's a GoFundMe link. Go donate if you can, share if you would like as well. And all funds will be going to support the streaming setup.
Yeah, it's not cheap. Let's put it that way. I think last year they said they spent around like 45,000 for streaming to give that to us for free. So like, do it. It's not, just do it.
Do it. And again, there's been a lot of community fundraising within the Ultimate community. And I know that can be tiring for folks. And with like the PUL, we haven't heard anything about a New Jersey fundraiser. This is not going to break news of a potential 2023 Jersey fundraiser for the PUL, but that tends to get a lot of traction, tends to raise a lot of money for the PUL. And as someone who was gratefully able to be a part of the San Francisco Falcons commentary crew for the 2 home games last season, I strongly encourage folks to donate because this is very much worth it. Even if you are not getting a tangible jersey in response, you're getting tangible, free streamed Ultimate, which is a fantastic product that I strongly encourage folks to donate if you can, share if you can't. And yeah. Any other news, Sascha? Otherwise, let's talk some nationals.
Yeah, let's do nationals. Lots of PUL and WUL players at nationals, like we talked last time, and a lot of PUL and WUL champions now. Well, I guess club champions.
Club champions.
Although some did club champion and professional champions as well.
It's true. That's true. Mostly Western Ultimate League players as some of the standouts in terms of the winners and finalists. That's because you had Denver Molly Brown and you had Seattle Mixtape as your women's and mixed division champions, respectively. Midwest, East Coast teams missing out on the championship belts this time around, but still some impressive performances from PUL players. Even some making it to the mixed final, but across the board as well. So congrats to everyone who played at nationals. We hope you enjoyed your experience.
Yeah, so for congratulations to Molly Brown, first of all, for winning the club national championships for the first time. They broke their semifinal curse, similar to what Ring of Fire was dealing with for a really long time. And they finally got the win. On that Molly Brown team, there was Kendra Miller from Utah Wild, and of course the Cardenas sisters from Revo, who I think today, like a few hours ago, they dropped the Ulti-World Women's Player of the Year.
They did drop
that you wrote.
You've written by yours truly, yes.
About Valeria. So find that. Valeria, congratulations, Valeria. Felicidades for Ulti-World Player of the Year, because she was absolutely incredible. Best thrower in the world.
Best thrower on the planet.
Yeah. And it's very likely she's the best player in the world, or very close to it. Like, just absolutely incredible stuff.
I think it would certainly be tough to pick another singular player who's maybe playing better right now, although there's maybe one or two on Mixtape that might question my claim of that, along with, can't forget to mention, although not a WL PO player this season, Claire Chastain triple peaked between playing with Revolution at WCCs, winning the gold at World Games, and then winning the title with a USAU title with Molly Brown. yeah, encourage folks to read up and follow along with WUL Team World's nationals, post-nationals awards coverage. Sascha mentioned I did write the bit on Valeria's Player of the Year win, and there will be plenty more to come about a bunch of players across the PUL and WUL for the All Club Awards, first team and second team, for offensive player, defensive player, breakout player of the year, what have you. So keep an eye on those. For finalists in the women's division, Molly Brown taking down Fury with quite a number of players who primarily played with San Francisco Falcons this past season. Sharon Lynn, Michelle McGee, Shayla Harris, Danya Ajdari, Megan Liu, Jesse O'Connor, and Han Chen. Also, Lo Guerin playing with the Torch in the PUL this past PUL season. Also part of that runners-up grouping for Fury. Fury almost going back-to-back USAU titles, as I attempted to call, but not quite able to do it against a very, very good Molly Brown team.
Yeah. And so going to the mixed division champions, congratulations, Seattle Mixtape, and the WUL champions, Seattle Tempest. There was a lot of Tempest players on this mixtape team, so they were able to get the Tempest, the WUL championship, and the USAU club championship, and those people
and the World Championship. WCCs,
and
don't forget.
The World's Championship.
Their own triple peaks.
There we go. And so we had Kat Songer, who is, like we talked about last time, going to be with Utah Wild this year, but was a Tempest player. Frances Gellert, Sheena Titcomb, Amy Kawhi, Ari Lozano, and Lexi Garrity, all playing for the Tempest. As well on mixtape from playing with Utah Wild was Jen Cogburn and Paige Kircher. So congratulations to all of them and everyone else on the team.
Just mixtape just loaded with top level talent across the board, particularly on the rim matching side, as demonstrated with the triple peaks, as it were, between the WL Championship, the WCC win, and the USAU title. The other triple peak on mixtape, Khalif El Salam taking down the same triple peak as Claire Chastain with the WCC World Games and USAU golds. Khalif was my other player along with Larry and maybe Claire Chastain, who's having their best seasons and playing at the absolute peak of their game. So
I know this is a women's professional podcast, but Khalif looks incredible this year. He's been absolutely on fire. So shout out Khalif.
Shout out Khalif, and his work with Kelly Johnson, aka Vegas, was incredible to watch. If you haven't gotten a chance to watch some of Mixtape's games from Nationals, go do so, because it was like clockwork sometimes, the two of them connecting. And then proceeding to throw bombs to Lexi and Francis and Gina and others. And Gen City Cogburn. As for the mixed runners-up noise, Madison Noise making some noise once again as they make the final after making the semis last year, despite everybody basically picking against them to do that again. Some players who played in the POL played with the Milwaukee Monarchs, who also played on the Snowies team, included Ness Kennedy, Katie Stanton, and Robin Venig. So yeah, and I think I'm correct in saying that. Let me double check this. I think Robin won Player of the Year in mixed too. So
yes, she did.
Yeah, some very good players playing in the POL who also did very well. POL and WL who also did very well at USAU Nationals. So again, congratulations to all those players. We're excited to see you out again on the pro fields this upcoming season. Hopefully, folks are coming back, playing once again, and presumably making us look silly again with all of our picks, just like our Nationals picks look a little silly in hindsight, which Sascha, you went 2 for 3 on picking the winners. I went 1 for 3 on picking the winners. Your pick of Molly Brown. You picked the Molly Brown Fury final, and you picked Molly Brown taking down the title. Congratulations on winning. Off-season picks,
Nothing.
or we can try and count them to the 2023 record after I beat you in picks last season.
Nah, this is an exhibition match.
Exhibition, separate thing.
I won the exhibition.
We both whiffed on Truck Stop taking out the title. They almost did it. Made it to the final.
Yeah.
Just lost to Bravo. And we both picked Mixtape, the favorites, to win. Did win, so we got that at least correct. Was looking back to our picks from the last episode. Some of what I was saying was very silly, like Pony losing to Sascha in pool play, which not a good pick. On that to try and force the Truck Pony final. That game happened in the semifinals instead. You picked Ring to the final, which Brave, that didn't quite work out. Truck Stop ruined that party.
Work out. Well, actually, technically,
I mean, Rhino
ruined that. Yeah, Rhino ruined that party. Okay, sorry. Real quick, off tangent about this game right here. If Rhino loses that game on Universe Point, they don't make the bracket.
Yeah, there are a few different instances of that, and like
that was nuts.
And Revolver could have I think won the pool if they didn't lose to Vault, but instead they were out of the tournament. Men's was wild at one point, y'all. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
That was nuts.
Mixing in general was absurd. Number 1 seed Dragon, we both picked to the semifinals, proceeded to go 1 and 2 in pool play, only to then still make the semifinals. I did say that the possibility for chaos was there with Exist beating Dragon. That did happen, but I didn't predict that it was going to be Exist taking Dragon's place in the semifinal against Mixtape. So that was the whole thing. BFG, we were picking the Seattle final. BFG couldn't even make it the semis, getting upset by Noise on Universe. It was
mixed this year was a wild ride.
A mess.
Pool play for Mixed was insane. Like Dirty Bird going 2-1.
Yeah. But then Toro going 0-3.
Toro going 0-3. Space Force being BFG by a lot.
But then missing the bracket.
But then losing the rest of the games. And then I don't think they won a game the rest of the weekend.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, they won the very last game.
Oh no.
So I think they took 15th. So they beat BFG 14-6 and then ended up taking 15th.
The mixed club division, everybody. Women's, on the other hand, I was in San Diego, the women's division reporter. I sent out a tweet at one point after 3 rounds of play when it had been entirely chalk and primarily blowouts in the women's division. And I was almost bored to tears, only for the women's division to then have 4 of the 6 games in the final round of the day go to Universe. And somehow only one of those ended in an upset, and it led to the Toronto Sixers making the semifinal instead of San Diego Flipside, who instead had to face Fury in the quarterfinal instead of the Southwest final that I was dearly hoping for. And yeah, Fury won that one in the rout. And then Sixers had an 8-5 lead on Molly, only for Molly to come back. And then Molly had an 8-5 lead at half on Fury. And Fury barely beat Brute Squad on Universe. Oh my gosh. The women's division was like, all right, we're going to have 3 rounds of chill, and then we're just going to ramp it up to 11, and it's going to be fire from there. And it was great.
Yeah. That one was, women's division was a lot of fun to follow.
Yeah.
I tweeted this out about the Sixers and Flipside game, that it meant that just the way that the bracket was set up, that whoever lost that game would have to play quarters or pre-quarters and then play Fury in quarters. And so that game was one of the most important games of their weekend, because who wants to actually face Fury in the bracket unless it's the finals, you know?
Yeah. And interestingly, this was something that was brought up at one point on Deep Look, and then I was bringing it up through the course of the weekend, and it's notable here as reviewing Nationals picks. All of the second seeds in all of the divisions, BFG, Ring, and Flipside, all lost in their regional final. And none of them made it past quarters, but that's partially because both Ring and Flipside lost their pools, and so then ended up being drawn against the one seeds in Fury and Truckstop, and both lost those games in the 1-2 quarters matchup. Meanwhile, BFG just went and lost to Noise on Universe. So anyway, interesting thing of all the overall 2 seeds losing the regional finals and not making it past quarters.
Yeah,
Who could have seen that coming? And all of the 1 seeds still making the semis. Okay, I'm done now.
It was a fun Nationals.
It was a good
divisions.
Nationals.
It was a lot of fun.
Shout out to any of the folks listening who I might have seen there and said hi to. It was great to see y'all, and I hope to see you sooner than next Nationals. And for those who couldn't make it, hope to actually meet you in person sometime soon, Sascha.
Look,
I missed out on going to Milwaukee. You missed out on going to San Diego. It'll happen eventually.
It'll happen. Real quick before we finish up, one of the players we said to watch last time was Claire Trope, obviously.
I think we did say that.
Claire Trope, I haven't checked every single other team, but Claire Trope put up a triple-double over the weekend.
She did.
With 12 points, 18 assists, and 11 blocks. So,
No other player, from what I could tell, from what was talked about in the women's division, no other player got a triple-double of goals, assists, and blocks. Also, between combined goals and assists, Trope led the stats board at 30 over a tie of, I'm pretty sure it was Valeria and Kayla Hilton at 29. And also, a fun fact that we learned later from the DC Scandal coach, Ty Aderhold, Claire was mostly playing on the Scandal D-line. So, yeah. I mean, she was playing both ways in close games because, of course. Yeah. But, to play on the D-line and put up 30 combined goals and assists is absurd. Absurd. Spoilers. Claire Trope might be coming up for, I don't know, top 3 of the Ulti World all club ballots. Might have been on one or the other of the offensive player of the year, the defensive player of the year list. Just keep an eye out. There's going to be more coming about Claire Trope because, yeah, monstrous weekend, monstrous year. Also with the World Games gold medal breakout MVP arguably performance. But yeah, keep an eye out for the Nationals coverage, folks. We're going to keep an eye out for any and all Western Ultimate League and Premier Ultimate League news coming up. I will not promise one way or another when we will come back, because last time I said something and I made myself look silly just 2 weeks later. So keep an ear out, keep an eye out on your podcast feed. This has been Double Overtime, episode season 1.75 or something like that. We'll be back with you at some point. And we will be bringing y'all a sub bonus segment at some point. Not tonight, not this time around. It'll be a more regular thing come season 2. In the meantime, enjoy the Ultimate. Keep an eye out for the news. Catch that Showcase 8v8 mix game if you can in 10 days from as I'm saying this. And happy fall, everyone. Happy winter. Hope it's a good one. We'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.
Bye.